Let's just jump right into this. We live in an era that is just absolutely exhausting. Everywhere you look, LinkedIn, Instagram, even just talking to friends, there's this relentless obsession with curating a flawless resume and a picture-perfect life. We're constantly told that to get ahead, we have to look perfectly competent, right? No missteps, no weaknesses, just winning. But the science we're unpacking in today's Explainer reveals a pretty shocking reality. Trying to look perfect, it's actually destroying your reputation. Seriously, it doesn't build status, it completely erodes it. So today, we're diving into the authenticity paradox and exactly why dropping that exhausting facade is actually the ultimate power move. Let's get into it. I want you to take a second and think about something. Think about the last time you saw someone just constantly bragging online, or maybe a colleague who only ever talks about their massive, unbroken string of wins. How did that actually make you feel? Like, did you respect them more, or did you just roll your eyes? The totally counterintuitive truth of human psychology here is that when you hide your failures and only broadcast your wins, you don't breathe respect. You breathe deep, malicious resentment. We're going to look at exactly why our brains are basically hardwired to reject perfect people and what you really need to be doing instead. So, researchers actually separate the pride we display into two totally distinct categories. On one side, we've got hubristic pride. This happens when you frame your success as the result of some innate, uncontrollable talent. It's that "I'm just naturally gifted" vibe. And to observers, that just signals pure arrogance. But on the flip side, we have authentic pride. This is when success is attributed to controllable, hard effort. It's the "hey, I worked 80 hours a week and failed 10 times before I finally nailed this" approach. People don't read that as arrogance. They read it as earned, genuine confidence. The really crucial point here is what happens when you trigger that hubristic pride in other people. You end up igniting something called malicious envy. Now, malicious envy isn't just, "oh man, I wish I had what they have." No, it is a dark, dangerous, and highly destructive emotion. When you display flawless superiority, when you make everything look effortless and perfect, your peers don't just feel inferior. They actively want to tear you down. Literally. They want to harm your social standing because your fake perfection directly threatens their own sense of self-worth. And this creates a massive fork in the road for how people react to your success. Down one path, that malicious envy leads straight to workplace hostility, sabotage, and the active destruction of your status. Yikes. But look at the other path, benign envy. This is the productive, inspiring reaction you actually want to trigger. Benign envy makes people look at you and say, "wow, they worked really hard for that. If I work hard, I can absolutely achieve that too." It drives motivation and self-improvement across the board. So the big question is, how do we stop triggering that toxic reaction and start triggering the inspiring one?
Well, that brings us to part one, the dangerous shift, or when success becomes toxic. Because before we can fix this, we have to understand the psychological trap high achievers fall into.
When you constantly curate perfection and hide your flaws, the blowback is brutal. First off, like we just said, it triggers hostility and sabotage from your peers. Second, it creates this toxic social isolation. People just can't connect with a flawless statue, right? Third, and this is super fascinating, it feeds the introspection illusion. This is a psychological bias where achievers actually mistake their own curated image for reality. They become completely blind to their own faults, actually believing they're superior to everyone else in the room. And finally, hiding your struggles forces you to mask a dangerous imposter syndrome. You're left terrified that one day you'll be exposed as a total fraud. To understand why we do this, evolutionary psychology shows us there are basically two distinct paths to securing status in any hierarchy. On the left is dominance. This relies on fear, coercion, and maintaining this illusion of flawless, untouchable superiority. But man, it is exhausting to maintain, and the second you show weakness, you're overthrown. On the right, though, is prestige. Prestige is a totally different ballgame. It's granted to you freely by others out of earned respect. It's built on sharing your knowledge, admitting your mistakes, and actually showing vulnerability. Dominance makes people fear you, but prestige, that makes people want to follow you. Which leads us to part two, revealing the struggle, the counterintuitive fix. If projecting perfection just isolates you and makes people mad, what's the alternative? The alternative is a total paradigm shift. Exposing the gritty, painful failures you went through isn't a weakness. It's the ultimate power move. Let's ground this in reality. Consider Princeton University professor Johannes Hausfer. Back in 2016, he deliberately posted a document online called Acevia Failures. Instead of his shiny accolades, he listed every single degree program that rejected him, every academic journal that turned down his papers, every funding grant he totally bombed.
He pointed out that because his failures were invisible, people just assumed his career was this seamless string of wins. By putting his invisible rejections out there for the world to see, he humanized himself. And ironically, he became globally respected for his transparency.
And the hard data absolutely backs this up. Let's look at a fascinating field study done at a high-stakes entrepreneurial pitch competition. Researchers tracked how the audience reacted to the entrepreneurs pitching. When a founder only talked about their success, the audience perceived hubristic arrogance. Boom, malicious envy triggered. But when a founder revealed their success alongside the agonizing failures and setbacks they had to overcome to get there, the whole perception flipped. Observers saw authentic confidence. That toxic envy was completely neutralized and replaced by benign envy. By sharing their setbacks, these speakers literally inspired their competitors to work harder. They fostered a culture of respect instead of resentment.
And what's wild is that science has known about this for decades. All the way back in 1966, a classic psychology experiment discovered something called the pratfall effect. Researchers found that when highly competent, super impressive people clumsily spilled a cup of coffee all over themselves during an interview, they were actually liked significantly more than the highly competent people who remained perfectly flawless. The mistake didn't make them look stupid, it just made them look human. It bridged that massive gap between their high status and the everyday reality of the observer.
There is also a huge physical benefit to doing this, which comes down to self-verification theory. As humans, we literally crave consistency between how we view ourselves internally, flawed, struggling, still learning, and the feedback we get from the outside world. When we pretend to be perfect, that mismatch causes profound psychological stress. Studies from Columbia Business School actually show that when you align your external image with your messy internal reality, your body physically relaxes. Your blood pressure literally drops. Plus, since you're no longer burning all this mental energy trying to keep up a fake facade, you free up massive amounts of cognitive bandwidth. The result? A measurable boost in your actual creativity, persistence, and focus.
All right, moving into part 3, prestige over dominance, the authentic path. As we wrap up this explainer, let's circle back to that evolutionary choice.
Dropping the exhausting facade of perfection isn't just about feeling better. It is simply the most authentic, effective, and sustainable way to build lasting status. And here is the stark reality you absolutely need to take away from all this data. Society, your peers, your team, they do not value a curated, flawless image anywhere near as much as they value the grit of hard work. When you show your failures, you are proving that your success was actually earned through blood, sweat, and tears, not just handed to you by untouchable talent. You prove that you're safe to trust, safe to follow, worthy of prestige. Remember, people respect the effort. They do not respect the illusion.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one final, provocative question. Take a hard look at your own curated life. Your professional profiles, your conversations with your coworkers. What failure, what painful setback, what clumsy spilled cup of coffee are you fiercely hiding right now that could actually be earning you the genuine respect you deserve? Think about it. It just might be time to publish your own CV of failures.